Michael Baker developed in conjunction with FHWA the NHI web-based bridge preservation training course. It's broken into basically 3 courses, over a course. Basically it's a day and a half of time, but it's web-based, so you can do it kind of at your seat, at your time, during your time. And so we broke it up into bridge preservation fundamentals, establishing a bridge preservation program, and then communicating strategies for bridge preservation. The first part, we talk about definitions and terminology. So the first lesson is based on that. We talk about the different types of components in bridge preservation, right? There's, preventive maintenance, there's rehabilitation. Those both kind of fall under bridge preservation. And in the preventive maintenance, there's the condition-based and cyclical or non-condition-based activities. And as you work through the program, you identify which can be cyclical and which are condition-based based on your NBIS and inspection and other people who are out there looking at it. We get into talking about the benefits of timely bridge preservation, which you've heard about here, and you'll hear about from others. This is the same curve that Dr. Guthrie talked about. I always like to include this in here because my whole thing is, you look at how long it takes to do that first, say, 40% drop, and then the distance in time to take that second 40% drop. That's really the key. That's why you really want to be taking your preservation actions in that first time frame, because once it gets to that point where it starts deteriorating very rapidly, you're in trouble. You're in trouble as a bridge owner. We'll talk about that. Then we go into actually talking about preservation activities. This is still part of the fundamentals, right? And we basically break it down into your main components. We talk about deck preservation, and it's all based on cyclical and condition-based activities. So when you go work your way through the program, you're looking at what you can do cyclically, just kind of set it up on a rotating basis, and then what you would do based on when you find a problem out there. And we talk about the superstructure. We talk, in terms of preservation practices and activities. And we talk about all different types of superstructures, whether it's steel, whether it's concrete, stone arches, the various types of things that you'd see based on your material type. We talk about substructure, same thing. Again, we talk about the different types, whether it's concrete, steel. We also talk about timber in there. So whether, whatever your substructure type is, what are the activities that you can take from a preservation perspective, and what would you maybe do routinely versus what would you do based on what you find when you're doing your bridge inspection program. Then the last one in terms of the bridge fundamentals is talking about culverts, what you can do for preserving your culverts. So that's basically it. That's for that first fundamentals course. Then we come in and we start talking about how you would establish a bridge preservation program. You open up with your goals and objectives, in terms of, we define those for folks in terms of what your goals are, then how your objectives, and then what are your performance measures. And we're still all anxiously awaiting FHWA's performance measures. No pressure, Raj. And then we do a little bit of talking about the needs assessment, and this is just the old BRM, a trend of deck conditions, superstructure, substructure over years, what the average is. You lay that out. This is, we heard Carmen talk about this on the first day of what they're doing here in Utah in terms of trends, taking a look at how their conditions are and what they want to do to improve their conditions overall. We do get into talking about budgeting and resources, and this is a serious exaggeration in what your needs are over what your resources are, but we all know that the needs outstrip your resources, and so we talk about different ways that you can do this, and we talk about the different types of funding that are available for agencies to use. There's state funding, federal funding. Other states have local improvement taxes set up in areas, and then you look at how that breaks down There's a preventive maintenance budget, there's a rehabilitation budget. And so how do you manage your assets to really improve, get the best bang for your buck, as they say? Then we talk about establishing your bridge preservation work program, and generally that flows from your bridge inspection program. You evaluate your needs, you perform your analysis, you identify work candidates, and you create your project and create your programs. It's an iterative process. We go talk about the way that happens, and how the work flows. There's this one for work items, and there's also one for programs, a similar type of cyclical thing that we do. And then you always want to have a monitoring feedback mechanism, right? So that we talk about what constitutes a good monitoring feedback program, so you understand your effectiveness, what you're measuring, how you measure your gaps, and allow you to adjust as you go, right? Because it's really important that you're able to see what's working, what's not working, and this is the other thing about this is, I know in the past, or I guess maybe the distance past, Federal Highway wouldn't support maintenance and preservation activities. They've moved that, and they support that wholeheartedly now. But one of the things that they do require of states is that they have this monitoring, they have this feedback. They show how effective their program is. It's part of good management. As the owner, you should be doing this. And the Federal Highway is saying, hey, yeah, if you want to use our money, you need to be able to do this as well. So, and then the last course is about communication. And we've heard that, throughout the day and the 2 days we've been here. The first thing that you want to do, I'll leave this up for a little bit, because that NCHR report, 742, is a tremendous, tremendous report. If you have an opportunity to get your hands on that, you should. It is really, really good. It's a tremendous resource for folks. But the first thing you need to do really is identify a champion. And hopefully you're all here and you remember what Carlos spoke about. They definitely have a champion here in Utah for preservation. He gets it, and once you have that, it allows for a lot of other good things to happen. We talk about designing the message. There's fierce competition out there for attention. You think about, the multimedia age we live in these days. You really need to be succinct and compelling in what you're talking about, and you need to communicate to thrive. I mean, this is great, but you need to take this back to your organizations, what you've heard here over these 2 days, and you need to communicate that back into your organization. And again, it really needs to be a succinct message. It's the old elevator speech. If you can get that down, you'll be really in good shape. So we talk about how do you develop, how do you establish that message that you want to get out there. You talk about that it should be foundation of facts, and folks understand that mostly. You see some of the stuff that we've seen today, the facts, the data that people have. You use that to really kind of drive home the message. You need to make sure it coordinates with other DOT messages, and I think we heard that when Carlos was giving his talk at the beginning as well, how the preservation fit right in with their other goals. So again, it's a really good section here where we're developing these communication strategies. And then we're talking about different ways that you can communicate the message. We have a project that I'm the project manager on in New Jersey, and working for New Jersey DOT. It's the rehabilitation of the Pulaski Skyway. It's the iconic steel truss that's over the industrial section of North Jersey. It's a 3.5 mile long bridge. When it's all said and done, they'll spend I think over $1 billion rehabilitating it. And we actually have a Twitter account. That bridge has a Twitter account. So it's one of those things. How do we communicate the message? And then the last piece is, we talk about how you can find out how effective that message is. You do a little market research, you understand, try and figure out how that's going to work. It kind of goes back to, you need to understand what you're doing, you need to measure its effectiveness and move along. So that's it in a nutshell. It's out there, it's available. I know maybe some folks in this room helped us when we beta tested it. I don't know, I reached out to folks that were part of this, the bridge preservation community as a whole to help us. So thanks for that. And I'm around if anybody has any more questions. So now I'm going to turn it over to Eric Thorkelson, and have at it.